Hello everybody and welcome to Gam1ng San1ty Podcast Part 3. I am your host, Mr. Black, alongside Asian Jesus, Australian Matty Boy. And once again, we have a very exciting show for you this week. We've got a lot to talk about. We're going to be discussing some overlooked, underrated games, maybe some games that didn't critically get well received and we love. And also, we are going to be discussing GTA 5 as usual. So Matthew, as you know, GTA has become the biggest budget game of all time at £170 million, $270 million. What do you think we're going to get? Are you excited now that we're 4 days away?
Oh, I've just gotten to that point. I've paid off the last of my pre-order. You're just now stuck in that waiting period, and you don't want to get into it. But I'm already there. This day can't come any closer. Come on. I need Tuesday to come. I need to be sitting outside that damn shop at 8 o'clock in the morning in the express queue with my coffee. I'm getting a coffee. EB Games has got the express coffee breakfast thing going. I want my coffee. I want my game. I want to wear a Los Santos cap.
Well, that's some excellent work. Well done to EB Games for looking after the people. Kudos.
Yeah.
Make sure it's very strong
Stocking
coffee.
4 collector's editions per store, and first come, first serve. This is what you get.
I think you better go down there with some form of weaponry then.
Yep. I paid $169 to get my collector's edition.
Ooh.
I'm taking karambits, whatever I can, just to help defend myself. And then, unfortunately, I'm going straight to work after that. But
oh dear!
At least it's the other side of the shopping centre.
Oh, that's not too bad then. That's not too bad. That's not too bad. So we've seen the map. It's been released. I have to say, I think CVG GTA 5 o'clock. Little plug there for you guys. Did a very good job of actually recreating the map along with a lot of the GTA fans before the game came out. Very accurate, very accurate. It looks very, very, very big. I have to say, I was very surprised how much landmass there was around the side. I mean, I'm going to be very interested to see how long it will take to drive from Los Santos Airport all the way around the top of the island and back round. I'm looking forward to doing that little journey. What were your impressions of it when you saw it?
Well, I have been keeping an eye on that whole recreation of the map from what we've seen on GTA forums. Yeah, it's even like we gathered how big it was going to be. Like we're going to go, okay, it's so many times of Red Dead Redemption's map. But when you actually have that whole map, and you just put Liberty City on there, where Los Santos is, that amount of space on there.
But it's bigger, isn't it? It's a lot bigger. I think I've seen. Yeah, there is some sort of superimposed image out there at the moment where they put the Liberty City map over the top, and even the city's bigger, isn't it? It's nuts.
They've done a fantastic job, and it's just incredible. It's that big finale of the generation as well. It's just working out so well, and it's just good to see San Andreas once again. We had such an experience back on the PS2, and we're just, as much as it's sad to say we're repeating that experience, it's also good.
Well, there's nothing wrong with that, really, though, because it is one of the defining games.
You always like that feeling when you've just gone that extra step up. That new world has opened up to you, and it's a hell of a new world to go into. And as much as you're going to be treading through familiar places, once again, it's still incredibly unique, and it's good to see what Rockstar are doing.
I mean, some of the pre-buzz as well is how alive the city is, and I saw a nice few screenshots on the beach and how nice I mean, this is how sad I am. How nice the water looked, and a lot of people on the beach and stuff. It looked really really nice.
That was the thing with Grand Theft Auto 4, though. That was when that came out. I still find it a beautiful game to play in.
Yeah, it is.
When you first get it, and if you are somebody that appreciates the step up that they took from the previous Grand Theft Auto titles, you did just you stood out along the waterfront, and you just stared out at the ocean. You forgot for like half an hour. You just admired that view that came in, and then you decide, okay, let's try and move on. And you hop in your car, you drive reasonably sensible down the road, kind of thing, just admiring this new environment, and you're seeing people throw empty cups out of their window and having cigarettes and all that, and it was just like Liberty City felt like it was already a living, breathing city. And
yeah, that was the one thing I will say to people about Grand Theft 4. I mean, I know there's a lot of criticism out there.
Yeah, it was the step
people
back.
say, oh well, it's not as good as some of the old Grand Thefts, but for me it was a really good game. The city itself was a proper world. It was extremely well realised with the internet, the comedy cafes, you could watch TV, do all these things, and I thought it was a very good area to sort of role-play in.
Yeah.
Now, I don't know whether a lot of people play open-world games like I do, but games like Red Dead and Grand Theft, I kind of sort of role-play it, take the friends out, go for a few beers, go do some bowling, get some chases from the police while you're driving home drunk and whatever. Yeah, things you can't really do in real life.
Do that.
But I think that's what you should do with an open world game. Even though it's not necessarily an RPG, you should to some extent role play in the world. How do I want to be in this world? Who am I? Where do I fit in? What is my place? If that makes sense, and I think that's definitely the way to play these games. Red Dead as well, I also, when I was playing as a bad guy, I'd go out at night time to make some money, cattle rustling, and raiding people's farms, skinning the cows and, being sort of a bad guy. And for me, that's how open world games should be played. This is obviously a topic for big discussion at some point. I would love to do a series on this, and maybe some articles in the future, we'll see. But overall, I have to say, I'm very impressed with what we've been given so far in terms of the map.
I gotta say,
and obviously it's all online as well.
I gotta say, with Red Dead Redemption, it's very hard not to get into roleplay. To be honest, you do when you're on multiplayer, it's easy just to go along and run amok. But single player's character, John Marston, is just he was such a well done character, and
yeah, he was.
You just couldn't help but get into it and just feel for him and what he was actually doing. He was just so good, and you kind of decided you weren't going to be harming innocents and that in the streets of Armadillo, and that you just let people do their own thing, and it was quite a good thing to see. Rockstar brought out some morality to it, and yeah, I've got to say I found it quite an interesting thing. So
yeah, it was very good. It was very good, I have to say. I really enjoyed that game. I can't overstate it enough. I mean, we all want to be Clint Eastwood gunning people down left, right, and centre, but
I miss the chandeliers.
Yeah, it was. Yeah. No, I do miss the chandelier online now. I'm devastated they took that out. It was hilarious shooting that down on people when they came into the bar. But that's another, and we'll do a video about that. Actually, people, we will do a video if you're interested and want to see that. We will definitely do a video about that. But I have to say, it's 4 days away now. There has been a bit of controversy over here in the UK. Rockstar have come out and said they don't want the online retailers to be dispatching the game till Monday. Now, if you live in the UK or are from abroad, you may have heard of the UK postage system is a complete disgrace and usually an absolute shambles, to be honest. And I think if retailers actually stand by this, there's going to be a lot of retailers out there who lose a lot of money. I know there's some certain retailers out there who guarantee delivery on day of release, and if you don't, you get a certain amount of money. I imagine that Grand Theft is one of the biggest pre-ordered games in the UK. I think it's somewhere around the region of 3 million units have been pre-ordered. I mean, obviously, Rockstar will break even on development costs if those are all fulfilled, let alone the rest of the world. So we could be on for maybe a Call of Duty beta this time. But I think it's very unfair on online retailers who do rely on the postal system to sort of impose these restrictions. And it also jeopardises everybody else getting the game they've paid for and have anticipated for a number of years now on release day. Is this the same thing in Australia? I don't know whether you guys have had this, or how's it been going over there?
Honestly, with online retailers, I haven't really I don't tend to deal too much with them. Mainly because Australian Post as well can be a shambles. Sometimes it can be the most effective thing you'll ever need. As soon as it gets into Sydney, by the end of the day, it's already flown out to Perth. It's quite a surprise when you do see it. But to be honest, the way I think it should be dealt with is, as much as it sounds quite bad in concept, you have to do deals with couriers. Take for instance TNT, DHL kind of thing. Is it? Yeah, DHL. Pretty much, instead of relying on the British Postal Service to do with that, you have to get a courier to hold units in certain time frames, because they're going to get money out of it anyway. And it's all going to be on their standard routes as well, where they deliver the packages. Okay, it will cost more on delivery, unfortunately, but then this will cover the whole how would I say it, like embargo on release. But yeah, so if DHL are told release this on this day, then they can start putting them on the trucks for the morning. Yeah.
I mean, I'm not sure how this is going to work over here. I wouldn't be surprised if the retailers just send it out anyway, as they normally do. I think they're trying to stop spoilers getting out on YouTube, on the internet. But obviously they've got to realise that there's people who work at these game stores who will already have the game, and they'll be out there making videos, possibly even now as we speak, or maybe at the weekend, depending on when the copies turn up.
Oh, yeah.
But I just think it's very unfair on certain online retailers. Let's say, for instance, a certain online retailer will give you £5 if your game doesn't turn up on release day, and let's say 50,000 or 100,000 of those copies do not turn up on release day. That's £500,000. That's a lot of money to be giving away.
Yeah, it would sting them big time, and it's unfortunate. And I honestly think when it comes to big releases, they should be expecting it, and I'd probably say they shouldn't put that out there, where it's just going to sting them way too much when there's such a restriction put on. You just can't. You've already calculated how much you could potentially lose. Why would you consider this risk, apart from wanting to try and look good compared to stores? A lot of people are still going to order online because they don't want to deal with queues. They don't want to risk a sellout at their local store. I mean...
Well, the thing is as well, especially in the UK, the game stores usually charge more than online retailers. And with online retailers, generally, you'll get your game the day before release, which is always a nice little bonus if it happens. I mean, I refuse to go to Game anymore in the UK, because if I was going to go buy Grand Theft Auto, it'd cost me £10 more. And I'd have to get it on the day it comes out. I mean, potentially, you will get it, the game a day earlier in the post, which has always been something I've always enjoyed, and I enjoy supporting a smaller retailer as well that has always given me good customer service.
Yeah.
I've had some very bad experiences in Game with people in there who are just generally morons, to be honest. And I'm not saying everybody in Game is a moron, don't get me wrong, but some of the guys in there who work behind the counter, quite frankly, I don't even know what they were doing there. They didn't even know about certain games. They didn't even know about consoles. They didn't even know about certain specs of consoles and things like that. Which, if you're working in games retail, I think should be part and parcel of doing that.
Yeah, I mean, with shops like EV Games out in Australia, it's not that I'm supporting them. At the same time, we're now dealing with a point where games like EV Games are struggling with online sales. But I gotta say, where I'm living, the local stores, the customer service I get from them is actually pretty decent. I've had one I wouldn't say it was a bad experience. It was disagreement with a member of staff. Just he's no longer working for the company either. But we had a dispute over portable consoles about how they should have some kind of internal memory to help keep up with like the mobile phone market and that. Because I mean, I got a Vita early into its release. I already knew it was going to be a bit of a flop marketing wise, but I wanted to see what they could do. That was the thing. I was intrigued by Sony. But they put such a high price on something the size of a scan disc, which really should be internal. And yeah, I was actually talking to a friend at this point about it, and this member of staff did butt in and was telling me, "Oh, it affects the weight distribution ratio. It's not good for the console itself."
Well, just put an SD card in there.
But here's the thing: the thing was lighter than a feather.
It's not exactly heavy, is it?
The thing was lighter than a feather, and he's fighting me over it. And it's like the Sony's little memory sticks for the PSP, even the PSP originally, were ridiculously overpriced. Again, for a scan disc.
Yeah.
And that was what my argument was about. And again, I can't see anything that would affect its weight, especially with the Vita now. So it just became such a shambled argument. I ended up walking out with my mate. But yeah, I still went back there and every now and then. And the boat.
But it's always good. Yeah. It's always good to have that relationship with your local store if you can do.
Especially
Definitely.
like Xbox One reveal. One of the staff there was trying to defend it initially, and then after more information came out, he just gave up. He's like, "Did you see that last night?" I went, "Sure did. Not that impressed." He's like, "Oh, it's got this and this and this," and I'm like, "You're trying to push a sale."
Well, I mean, I don't even know who that particular marketing reveal was aimed at, to be honest. But again, that's another conversation for another day. Microsoft and their little crackdown that's been going on down there. I don't really understand what's happened. But anyway,
But yeah, I mean, like with those stores I go to, I do have a decent relationship with the staff there, so I tend to go there more. Plus, it's also the express and the ability to just browse. We're now spending so much time sitting there watching the computer screen with so many different objects, and I prefer that whole bookstore effect where you go in and you look at the box, have an inspection, see if there's any like special editions that have just been left there or forgotten about, and yeah, you just get that extra level of customer service that come in and help you, or I end up helping them, giving them their customers advice on certain games, which has been an amusing thing.
Well, that's always good.
It's a community gathering.
Keep them in the loop. Yes.
But I mean, as well, they've started supplying items from ThinkGeek as well. Like the portable guns came out not too long ago, and they also have lots of like Mario nostalgia and all that. So it's just nice to go into their stores rather than just having a look, see, let's order something online. Yeah, it's all about what experience you prefer better.
My personal view is cheapness and speed of delivery. That's me. Absolutely. If there's any women out there, by the way, that is not what it's all about. But anyway, moving along quickly after that. Now, the next topic I think we should discuss is something very, very close to my heart and yours as well. And that is the subject of overlooked, underrated, or maybe games that critically were bashed, but we loved. Now, I think there's only one place we can start with this, and that is 2011's Space Marine.
Oh.
Now, you and I both love this game. I'm sure there's a lot of people, if they hear this, will be banging the war drum for the Emperor. I have to say, as a debut third-person shooter that didn't use cover for once, I mean, obviously you could sort of hide behind blocks and everything else, I thought it was great. It was very much like a guilty pleasure for me, like the Dynasty Warrior games are for some people. Yes, it was mindless. Yes, it was just hordes of orcs and chaos coming at you at once. You were fighting for your life at certain points. I loved the gory finishes, the feeling of weight on the weapons as well, especially in surround sound when you use the sniper rifle or the actual assault rifle, and there was a real feeling of real power, wasn't there, behind the weapons, and the fact that you could just go charge into the middle of them all, the hordes of the orcs, and just start getting in there as an invincible Space Marine, and using those gory finishes to finish them off and power yourself up. I mean, I thought it was absolutely fantastic. And there's going to be some footage displaying all this, by the way, over this, as we are talking about this. Some excellent footage. What did you think, Matthew, when you first put that on? And what do you think of the whole Warhammer 40,000 and how it was transferred into Space Marine?
Well, I gotta say, that game came in... It's like having one of those 80s action films where it's just... Any kind of cliche went in there. It was just straight out, this is what we want to do, and we're doing it. Oh, but you got to put in some. You got to put something in unique in the mechanics. How about more violence? That's not unique.
Well, I thought the unique thing about the mechanics was how fast you could switch between melee combat and actually shooting.
That did work.
I thought that was really well done. There was no lag between it, was there? You could literally just whip out the chainsword and start piling into the vast hordes of the orcs.
It was a nice smash up. I did just like it for that whole. We don't really care. We want to make a game that suits the Space Marines. It is get in there. Tear the hell out of whatever you can get hold of. Simple. Add a bit of a story in there, but we're just going to be going.
The story wasn't too bad, though, was it? I mean, the ending was good. Let's not ruin it for everybody. But I didn't see that ending coming. I have to say, I was quite impressed with that. And the acting wasn't too bad. I mean, obviously they were quite sort of stiff, weren't they, and gruff. But obviously, if you're an 8-foot super soldier with 2 hearts and stuff, I don't think you're going to be exactly Mr. Personality.
Oh, well, at least they had the helmets off as well. You could see some facial expressions on them.
Yeah.
But yeah,
it was very good though. I have to say that game was one of the most visceral combat experiences I've had for quite some time.
It reminded.
There was the adrenaline was going in that game. Yeah. Well, at certain points it was really pumping, and I just thoroughly enjoyed the thrill of the combat. I have to say, it was immense. It was immense.
Yeah, I gotta say,
I actually did a review of it for MediaNation.co.uk, and I give it a 7.5 because I thought it was a good starting point as well for a series. I thought the multiplayer needed a bit of work, and it needed a lot more support. More maps and everything. And I think they missed a trick by not having co-op in there, which would have been funny. But I thought it was a really good start. So it's just such a shame that the THQ have gone bust now. Because do you remember when they brought out the Horde mode as well?
Yeah, that was pretty damn fun.
When we were playing Horde mode, that was just crazy, wasn't it? Just piling into waves after waves and just leathering everything. Unbelievable.
I gotta say, I enjoyed that just straight out start in the game where it literally was get straight into the situation, get straight into the combat.
What, where it came skydiving down onto the orc ship?
Yeah, pretty much. It was just
Captain Titus. Yeah, when it came down.
It's I'd say it's very reminiscent to God of War originally, when it literally just got straight into that action.
Yeah.
It's just like, we're not going to mess around. You can learn your controls later. Just get straight in there.
I liked the little details as well, as the more you stayed alive and the better you did. You got those little tags and ribbons on your shoulder pads and stuff. I thought the graphics were good. They weren't amazing, but they were good, and it ran at a nice frame rate, especially to see how many enemies were on screen at once.
Yeah. Oh no.
Definitely for me, one of those guilty pleasures like Dynasty Warriors.
Yeah,
Better than Dynasty Warriors, definitely. I'll put that out there.
Say, I love.
Sorry if anybody loves Dynasty Warriors, but I will definitely say Space Marine for the win.
I love Dynasty Warriors. I played it on the PS2 a fair bit. That was just a decent bloody mashup.
Oh yeah, it's good. It's good though. It's kind of cathartic, isn't it? Just to sort of switch your brain off and just smash some buttons and possibly think about something else or whatever you're doing at the time.
Yeah, no, it is.
I really did. I have to say though, Space Marine is. I'm so distraught to some degree that there possibly will not be another one. I mean, I have heard rumours. Do you remember the Warhammer 40,000 MMO that was going to be coming out that looked really good? The rumours were that game had been stopped and then taken apart, and they were going to make a new Space Marine from that. But obviously now that THQ have gone bankrupt, I don't know whether we're going to get that. And I'm very confused actually as to where the Warhammer 40,000 license has gone. If anybody does know, please post some comments below about that, because I haven't got the foggiest idea. I've done some research about it, and it seems very bizarre. It seems to be here, there, and everywhere. So I'm not entirely sure where that has gone. Please go to a good developer, please. Give it to Platinum Games. Give the Warhammer 40,000 license to Platinum Games, and let's get them going on it. That'd be amazing. That'd be a fantastic game if they could make that. Unbelievable. But I think this series I would like to do on Overlooked Games. This is definitely something that goes out to you, the fans, as well, who are listening to this. If you have any games, please comment. Leave us some video responses. Let us know what you think, and as well, if there's anything you would like us to talk about, please don't hesitate to send us some messages or whatever about it, and we will quite happily seek those games out, and we will play them and discuss them. Now, over to you, Matthew. What is one of the games that you feel has been overlooked, underrated over the years?
I gotta say, I've probably got two at the moment, like two major. I'm probably one of the few people that seems to have liked Need for Speed: The Run.
Need for Speed: The Run?
It got fairly mixed on reviews when it initially came out. There's a lot of people that like it, There's a lot of people that don't. Mainly because there's a bit of a breakaway from how the games usually format compared to what they're going on now. But to be honest, like, I played, what was it, Most Wanted? I've played Need for Speed since when it used to be out on mainly PC and all that originally, and it's always mixed itself up throughout the years. So that argument they have about it, I've never really seen much of a point. Because I mean,
it did become a bit sort of FIFA-y though, didn't it? In the sort of PS2 sort of beginning 360 era, it was a very similar game all the time, wasn't it? Until I think they brought Criterion on,
when it
and
was, when it was it Underground? Underground is where it found a very, very strong footing, and I do have such good memories of it because they did have some really decent controls, and they brought in a very, very vast amount of customization for that time, which is quite sad to see that we're now getting in the era where stuff like street racing really isn't about modifying the looks of your car. It's more about just getting straight out power, which is a shame. I did like to spend hours upon hours just getting that correct, perfect paint detail and all that going. But with the Run, it really took me back a bit more to the street racing stuff, because Carbon, right after Carbon, it really felt a bit bland. Carbon really let me down a bit. I was just not too chuffed about it, and the run kind of helped redeem it, in my own opinion. It was different to have one ever-going goal, where it was a large race from San Francisco to New York, but it was separated in different checkpoints where you did have to go, okay, this stage we've got to beat so many people, this stage we've got to get so much time knocked off our current timing. And there was just also these nice challenges that came in, and although they were a bit rips on a few movies and that, it was just a bit of a breakaway. And sometimes I just can't stand there with just going race after race after race. I do like to have a bit more interaction with what's going on. There's a
It kind of reminded me of the Cannonball Run films.
Yes, yeah. And
seek those out, people.
It definitely
get those watched.
Give them a good watch.
Oh yes.
But yeah, I gotta say, it's also kind of like an offside dream I have, to be able to do such a thing out here in Australia. I want to be able to go.
What, to go on a cannonball run?
I kind of do want to be able to do a cannonball run from either.
You just want to recreate Mad Max, don't you?
Absolutely.
Well, obviously, without the Jewish racist that is Mel Gibson.
Well,
who, by the way, if you actually watch that mugshot of him with his beard, looks like Saddam Hussein. So, bit of a conspiracy theory there, people. So, let's
oh, is it going to end up like Iron Man 3? Huh? I'm not going to spoil it, but
yeah.
Hello, my name is
we
Trevor.
Can't spoil that. Yeah, indeed.
No, it is just. I do like that long journeys that you can have in your car, and it was just nice change with Need for Speed. It's good to see what's happening with, like, Most Wanted, where although they're bringing up the old names for the current titles that are now being released, there's going to be a nice break between the years, because it's that biannual release for each developer. So,
which is always better. Because Criterion are pretty much the best developer they've got for driving games. And where's Road Rash, by the way, Criterion? Yeah. Get it, Ned. Oh, by the way, Road Redemption, actually, is a spiritual successor to that. You can support that on Steam Greenlight, and the Kickstarter is finished now, or maybe it's still going on. You can chip in, so keep an eye out for that, people. Awesome successor to the Mega Drive. But I have to say, Need for Speed, the run, I played the demo, and I did enjoy it. As you know, I'm not a particular driving game fan. My main driving comes in Grand Theft, as I become the wheelman. But I did enjoy it, and I could see the potential of it. And I think the shorter running time of the game as well is more suited to people with obviously busy lifestyles and schedules. But obviously I'm not an expert on driving games. If anybody out there has some other suggestions for us which they feel are similar or better, let us know. We'll have a look into those. So overall, you would recommend people try out the run?
Yeah, I've just seen, like, over the last year, from where I've gone to work, when you get to that conversation about games, and every time you do, like you mentioned racing games and that, and you mentioned the run, and people have had that very mixed review about it. And a lot of people have been saying, oh yeah, I actually had one person that bought it, but as soon as they walked into the shop, their mate said, nah, fucking take it back, return it, it's useless. And it weren't until I started working there where they told me what happened. I just said, go pick it up nice and cheap now, have a look at it. Like, just have a run, literally. It's an afternoon. It is an afternoon game.
Oh, hey,
Let's
here,
put,
people. It's all happening.
What I mean is just, it's an afternoon game. You can do it in an afternoon, and it suits it. It's just that nice afternoon where you're just gonna go, let's chill out. Let's have something to just play through and not worry about it. You can put it back in the shelf and forget about it. You can take it back to the store. Or you can do what I do, end up playing it over and over and over again, just out of sheer boredom some afternoons. But yeah.
Well, I would say one thing. When me and my friends played the demo, the controls are very easy to get into, aren't they? It's not a particularly difficult game to control. It's very arcadey, which is nice, and it means it's easily accessible, doesn't it, for a lot of people to be able to try.
And also, as well, it's the vehicles on there. They do actually tell you whether they're going to be easy or a challenge to drive. And I've always had a thing for the Chevy Camaro on there, so I'm always into it. So yeah, I picked the most challenging vehicles to ever get in that game, but I will stick to them, even on the most bloody hard sections of that game. Yeah, I'm going to pick the muscle car for the road that has so many twists and turns, and you end up flying off a
it's rear-wheel
cliff.
drive, and it's overpowered. What more do you want?
Oh, maybe traction. Nah, it's what you get. I mean, I just go. It's gonna bite me in the ass. Look at that. Oh, that road. The next leg is quite a tricky one. It's no longer highways. What car should I pick at the next petrol station? Muscle car. Going through icy mountains. What are you going to pick? Muscle car.
Absolutely. Well, that's the way forward, people. Muscle car.
Mind you, I do pick the K&N Special BMW on there as well, which is a nice, good bit of aged laugh on there as well. But that's me. I do like some of my cars.
Well, I think I have to say I might pick it up after that. That's been a good little summary there. I think I might have a crack on that. Now, moving along, the next one, we are going back a number of years now to 2005. Mr. Keiji Inafune, who is currently flying high on Kickstarter with his not Mega Man game that is a Mega Man game, Mighty Number 9. Now, I present to you, The Shadow of Rome on the PS2. Now, I've heard a lot of sort of things bandied around recently that this is quite an overlooked game, it's an underrated game, it's an obscure game. Now, in 2005, when this came out, there were posters everywhere, there was huge, massive amount of advertising in the game stores and general stores about this. And it's basically Keiji Inafune / Capcom's Gladiator game. It was split up into two distinct sections. We had Octavius, who was Julius Caesar's nephew, who did the stealth sort of mechanics of the game, went round finding out the plot, and we had Agrippa, who was one of the big centurions in the Roman legion, and Julius Caesar gets killed, and Agrippa's father is set up for the murder. And it's up to Octavius to find out the intricacies, dealing with the Senate and the political things, doing the stealth, mainly hiding in jars and throwing bananas at people, and smashing people in togas over the head with various vases and other things, whereas Agrippa got down to the real business of doing the gladiatorial combat in the arena. At the time, I have to say, visually it was very good. One of the most violent games I've seen for a long time, and possibly where Crytek and Microsoft have had the idea for Rise from. But I think the main difference is that Shadow of Rome actually has some personality about it, whereas Rise looks a bit by the numbers, to be honest. Were you aware of Shadow of Rome at the time, Matthew, or is this sort of new to you?
It's a bit of a it's still a bit of a blur in memory, because I recognise the name, I recognise a fair few things about it, but when you actually told me early on when we were doing the notes, it's just one of those I recognise. Memories just start flooding back in a bit. And one of the main things that went through my head, I remember actually seeing a poster. First thing that went through my head, not another History Channel game, please don't be. And then I saw the Capcom logo on there.
Well, it's further. Oh, it couldn't be further from the History Channel. I'll tell you that right now. It's more of a William Shakespeare type account of history, shall we say? But the thing I really liked about it was it did blend stealth mechanics, albeit very minimal stealth mechanics, with a fairly decent combat system, nice combos. When you did a certain amount of combos, you had to raise your hands to the audience. You would get new weapons thrown in that do more damage. You would get food thrown in to heal you, and obviously as well, the more you repeated those combos, the less the crowd enjoyed what you were doing. So you had to constantly vary your attacks, vary the approach of how you would fight various people. Now, one of the things I do remember about the game was the chariot race. Very good as well. And it also had a little way of throwing in these boxes that you do in the arena that in the region of 7,000 health. There's one I remember called Barrier. At the beginning of the game, it's set in Germany, when the Legions are in Germany. You have to fight the German tribes, and Agrippa and the Legion take over this fortress, and Barker is there. And later on in the game, you have to fight him again, and I have to say he's one of the hardest bosses I've fought in a long time on a game like that. He's this huge German guy who can literally pick up pillars from the arena floor, and he kicks rocks at you, which will fling the weapons you have in your hands on the floor, and he can literally hit you with these massive pillars, and he's got like 7 bars of health, and you're literally hitting him with all these weapons, and he does no damage to it at all. Absolutely crazy, but fantastic game. Levels of violence of which we haven't seen. There will be some footage over this as well for to demonstrate some of this. Unbelievably violent game, but extremely rewarding and really good fun, and a very long game actually. I was quite surprised. I mean, I'm not entirely sure whether it was intended to take about 15-20 hours. I think that's maybe because some of the bosses were a bit hard, and some of the stealth sections were a bit underpolished, and if you got busted a couple of times, it would set you back a bit. But I think overall it's a game that people should go look into again. I think it should be re-released on the PlayStation 2 network on the PS3. That you can download the PS2 version, slightly updated. But I have to say, I did send Mr. Inafune some congratulations on getting his Mighty No. 9 Kickstarter done, and I also said, can you please make Shadow of Rome 2, because Rise looks rubbish. Give us some personality. I mean, come on, please. Instead of just generic soldier number 1 wandering around blathering on.
Oh, you've just triggered something. You have just triggered.
Go on then.
You've just triggered the credits to Ghost Recon. Oh my god, that was. It weren't too long ago. I completed that game.
Yeah, that's one of the worst endings I've ever seen. Actually, was on Ghost Recon.
Something about Ubisoft now. They can make fantastic games. Get up to the ending. It's like everybody
just can't close the deal.
Yeah, they can't. It's just you had me. You had me in the bar. I was there. I was interested. We get to your apartment. No, I'm walking out. Sorry. But
now another underrated game I would like to discuss, and this is definitely one I do want to point out to everybody, is the first 3D Castlevania on the PlayStation 2. Now, it's just called Castlevania. The main creator of the series, well, a number of the games in the series, Iga, was in charge of it. Michiru Yamane did the music. Now, the music is fantastic. It's up there with Symphony of the Night, in my opinion, absolutely. And Ayame Kojima did the art again as well from Symphony of the Night and some of the others and some of the handheld games as well. And I just don't think it gets the credit it deserves. Now, it did only have 5 sort of sections in the game. It was the same sort of format, with a hub world, and then you would go off, to various areas and get new abilities to investigate areas. I mean, it's fairly short for a Castlevania game, especially sort of in 3D. Maybe 10, 15 hours, around that, depending on how good you are. But the combat was good. They had a nice little inventory system where you could move the right stick, while you were fighting, and you could switch through the menus, on the fly, and change what you were going to select, like potions or new powers or whatever. And it just is, in my opinion, such an underrated Castlevania. The graphics are very good, very atmospheric. It really does have that gothic feel that Castlevania games should have. I mean, the boss fights were good as well. It had all the little things from Symphony of the Night where you could get the weaknesses of the enemies, and you had this vast encyclopedia of how to fight certain ones. Another little system that I enjoyed that they put in it, you could find these place stones, so that if you found somewhere on the map that you couldn't access, you could leave a stone there to remind you, of whatever you've missed, or to go back there. I was recording some footage for this the other day, and I found myself having to turn it off because I realised I was getting far too into it again, and the gameplay was really free flowing, very much like Devil May Cry. Really good sort of combos you could do. I mean, it's quite simple. There was a nice sort of avoision system and blocking, so you could power your magic up in order to use relics. For instance, one of the relics, you can have fire behind you. There's certain knights that can only be killed by fire, so you could run around with a trail of fire and get the knight, to follow you around, so it'd get burned in the fire, things like that. But I just think that in terms of the 3D Castlevanias, Lords of Shadow is an exceptionally good game and amazing art design, and I really enjoyed it. But if we're talking about a core Castlevania game that is made by the actual Japanese team, I think that the first Castlevania game on the PS2 is the real deal, because it was made by the proper team, the music was done properly, the artwork is all there. Yes, at the time it didn't get totally well received, and playing it now as well, there are certain things you can find fault with, but I think overall it's a really good Castlevania, and I think it deserves more recognition than it gets. Now, I do know there's another one on the PS2 which I haven't played yet, which I'm looking into getting, and I'm gonna have a bash on that and see how that is. Are you aware of this game? Have you been involved in the Castlevania series up until this point, or have you been more involved in the handheld ones?
You're gonna hate me. You really are gonna hate me, because to be honest, when it comes to Castlevania, I've played the demos. When a demo disc came in, I would play it. But I never really got into, as much as Castlevania is a good series, I never just got into it.
Right.
It's always been like I wouldn't mind picking one up, but at the same time, I've been more allured to something that's been just a bit more flashy kind of thing. It took me a while to get more into like Japanese style games kind of thing. It was just mainly personal taste kind of thing. And nowadays I think
you would enjoy it, actually. Yeah. I would look into it. It's a very good
Nowadays I am a lot more
game.
open up to going off and playing these style games, but yeah, it's just been, I just sat down with stuff like GTA mainly, but yeah.
I would definitely recommend you go check that one out. It's definitely one to have a go on, and get Symphony of the Night as well on Xbox Live Arcade. People, get that side-scrolling 2D Castlevania at its finest. Amazing music, extremely good animation, and one of the biggest sins I ever did was sell the double disc special edition on the PS1 with the soundtrack, and I will never forget doing that, and always regret doing it, because I was a buffoon and needed new games. No, I did. I needed new games at the time, and I was young and foolish, and didn't really realise what I had, unfortunately. Now, hopefully, we've been able to bring some games to you there that you may not have thought about. Please leave some comments, and please feel free to contact us with any comments you have about those games, or if you have games that you would like us to feature on here, or you would like us to talk about, or that you feel are better. And so, that is the end of Gaming Sanity Podcast Part 3. It's goodbye from me, and it's goodbye from...
Matt. There we go. There's a finale for you.
And it's goodbye from him. Yeah, what a finale that was. Anyway, people, don't forget to rate, comment, and subscribe, and support Gaming Sanity, because we love you all, and a special shout out to go to all the Game Central people who have assisted us over the past week with subscriptions and comments. Big props to David Jenkins and Roger Hargreaves. Take care, everybody, and we will see you next week.